Society has deteriorated due to the sexual revolution's promotion of a hedonistic lifestyle, where pleasure and instant gratification take place over meaningful connections and commitment. We are bombarded with messages that encourage us to pursue casual sex and disregard traditional values, leading to a breakdown in the family structure and erosion of moral standards. This mentality has caused us to devalue emotional intimacy and prioritize physical pleasure, ultimately contributing to the decline of our society. We Spartans have learned that staying close to our traditions is key to a functioning society. This is why Sparta has flourished for thousands of years. We embrace tradition and understand that deep, meaningful relationships are one of the most important things when it comes to keeping a healthy mind. So what is the sexual revolution? The sexual revolution is a social movement which tells us that we should indulge in casual sex, casual, unmeaningful sex, and that women can just be like men and have a lot of sex. You know, in the past it was always not okay for a woman to have a lot of sex with different men, but today this movement tells young women, yeah, it's okay, you can just be like men. Men and women are the same. And this has led to the decline of meaningful relationships and marriages. So what you see in today's society is that people indulge in casual sex like it's nothing. Both men and women. You know, a few years back I heard about this sexual revolution for the first time, and that men and women should have more sex and, you know, less meaningful relationships. And my monkey brain was actually like, yeah, more sex. I wasn't even paying attention to the parts where they talked about less meaningful relationships. And I actually thought this was a good thing, you know, being more open about it and stuff like this. Well, I was oblivious to the consequences of this. I wasn't using my brain. In today's society, people aren't serious about relationships. Remember 70 years ago, you'll be married at 18 or 20 years old. Do you think you would fuck around if you were like 16? Hey, you would maybe just started to have sexual relationships and stuff like this, and you knew you would get married around age 18, 20. Do you think you would fuck around and just like not take relationships seriously? No. You would take relationships and finding a good woman very seriously. You would actually look for a woman to marry. But in today's society, we are just seeking pleasure. We are not looking for women to marry. Maybe some of us are, but that's something for like people in their 30s, right? Not for people in their 20s. For the past 6 months, I have done a lot of research into this. And I find it a very interesting topic. And I can say I do understand now why it's not okay. So this feminist movement has convinced many of us that casual sex is the way to go. And this leads to the decline of a lot of meaningful relationships. People no longer focus on building up a meaningful relationship. Like I told you, they no longer focus on finding a good wife to marry at the age of 80, 90, 20. They might do that when they are 30, but in the meantime they will enjoy life, right? Not have kids until they are 30. An interesting thing is that the uprising of casual sex actually leads to the decline of sexual activity. If you look at Japan, there's a huge decline in sexual activity, 30% less. And 30% of all Japanese under 30 are still virgins. And this is an interesting concept. Why is it that the sexual activity actually declines where casual sex is more normalized? This decline is not only in Japan, this decline is also in the West. We see a lot less sexual activity in the West. You know, I've got a lot of friends actually who are around my age, 25, and who are actually still virgin. It's not like 1 or 2, but it's more like 5, 6. And it's actually quite sad. This means that they have not taken relationships that seriously. Like getting into a relationship was probably not a focus for them for a long time. While 70 years ago, they would be married for 5 years now. They would have gotten married at age 20. So what you see is that people don't stay in a relationship for a very long time. And when we do end up in normal relationships, we tend to just quit much quicker when it doesn't work out. When there's like a little trouble in the road, we just go to another partner. And this leads to the decline of meaningful relationships and long-term meaningful relationships. And this is not only happening in normal relationships, this is also happening in marriage. So we see that people divorce much quicker. I don't know the exact numbers, but I think 50% of all persons divorce. Well, 15 years ago, it wasn't normal to divorce your wife. It was actually quite a scandal. The divorce rates were like really low. Well, today it's just like, well, it doesn't work out, let me just divorce you, let's go to another. And you could say, yeah, if it doesn't work out, you can just, it is good that you go on. But sometimes you shouldn't just give up when you hit the first bump on the road. You should strive, you should actually work together to fix this relationship. And especially when you have kids, it's very damaging for these kids, you know. When you divorce your man or your wife and you have actually kids, these kids will grow up without a father. And you will see a lot more fatherless homes. And also because of this feminist movement tells women that it is okay to raise your kid on your own. You don't need no man. That's such bullshit. When you have a kid, this kid needs a father. Otherwise, it's gonna miss certain aspects of growing up. This father is key to raising a kid. I am going to be talking about this concept in another video about the dangers of not having a kid without a father or without a mother. It is very interesting. This movement is dooming our sexual relationships. So this movement wants us to have a lot of casual sex, and in the process we have actually a lot less sex. And if we do have sex, it's less meaningful. And do you truly think men and women are actually happy about it? Do you think a woman is actually more happy when she can have a lot more sex with a lot of men? Do you think that makes her happy? Do you think that she likes it? She likes not to have deep relationships? That she likes to have children at the age of 30, 35, maybe even 40 and not at 20? Wouldn't you think a woman is more happy when she has a child in her 20s and can build a family instead of just being alone? I don't think women are actually more happy when having more sex with random men. And the same is for men. Okay, maybe it's different for men because men are polyamorous in their nature, so they can have more sex with more women. When it comes to relationships, men do want to build meaningful relationships. And I'm actually quite scared for this, also for myself, you know. I do want more meaningful relationships, but what I see is that people around me, guys, girls, just want to indulge in casual sex and don't want the hassle of building a relationship. No. And I'm actually quite scared for my future here. Am I gonna be able to find a future wife who is serious about a relationship, who actually wants to have children before the age of 40? And there is another problem. In our 20s, we are the most sexual attractive. When we just play around with relationships like this, our sexual attractiveness declines. Especially, let's say, when we get to the serious stage. Let's say at some time we decide, okay, we want to have a meaningful relationship now. We are 35, we want to have a meaningful relationship, but our sexual attractiveness has actually declined. And especially past the part of 35, we get less attractive. And it's harder for us, for women and for men, to actually find a sexual partner to have kids with. So while we are playing around having casual sex, the chances of us finding meaningful relationships and building a family actually decline. We keep playing around like little children, but we need to grow up. And it's not only our sexual attractiveness, especially for women, it's also their ability to have children. When you get past the age of 30, the ability to have children drastically declines, and it makes it a lot harder for women to have children. Let's say you're a woman of 35 and you decide finally, okay, let me have some kids. I'm going to build a family. I'm finally gonna live the dream. And at this point, it's not possible for you to have children because your window has closed. I can guarantee you this woman will be very, very depressed because of a young age she has been told that she can have a family and stuff like this. She can have kids. But then Mother Nature kicks in and tells her it's too late. So she has wasted all her 20s indulging in sexual relationships which don't matter. And when it's time to get serious, it doesn't work anymore. So it's very, very important that we reject modernity, that we reject the sexual revolution, and that we do not just indulge in a lot of sexual relationships, especially in our 20s. We need to be looking for meaningful relationships. Let's say you're on your first date. You have to look past the part of sex. So what I decided for myself is that I'm not gonna indulge in any casual sex. So let's say I'm on a date. I will just hold off sex for a few dates. And I think this is especially important for young women. Because if you do this, you will actually filter through the people who are serious. Let's say you have a first date and a second date and you decide not to have sex. The guy who is more serious about you will actually stay. And maybe there is some guy who just wants to have sex and you would think like after 2 dates, whoa, this woman isn't gonna give me sex. Well, I might as well just leave. And that's a good thing. You don't want these unserious men. And the same is for men and women, right? If casual sex is not okay, not for men and not for women, we must seek more meaningful relationships. Women are not made to have a lot of sex with a lot of random guys. Women and men are completely different in this aspect. We must search for more meaningful relationships. So remember, Spartans, be aware of the dangers of the sexual revolution. Let no feminist tell you that casual sex is the new norm, that we should reject our traditions, which we have built upon for centuries. Embrace tradition, reject modernity. Spartans, prepare for glory.